Good morning, Erez Shachar, CEO and founder of Kumar Capital.
Good morning, Netta.
How are you?
Very
We're
good,
here
thanks.
at Berlin,
Yes,
Restart Israel, and please tell us a little about your activity and what you're doing in the Israeli tech.
sure. So Kumra Capital is actually the first Israeli venture fund to invest in growth stages of Israeli tech companies. We started the fund 10 years ago. We
Mm-hmm.
have about a billion under management today. And when we started off, Israel was really considered a startup nation. So a nation of companies that are innovative, that bring great product to market, but wasn't really very well known for scaling companies and creating large,
Mm-hmm.
sustainable, independent companies. Companies were actually acquired relatively early in their life. And that was a bit frustrating for us as early stage investors. That was my previous fund. We were early stage investors.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years ago, we set up to raise the first Israeli growth fund. Kumra Capital was established in really 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really when the market started to show scaling capabilities. Until then, it was very rare that Israeli companies actually grew to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've seen a boom of late stage investments in the Israeli market and companies scaling, remaining independent, going public. We've invested in 24 companies
Yeah, I
since
was
we
going to
were
ask you about your
established.
portfolio of companies. If you can give a taste of what
Sure.
Kumar Capital specializes
Yeah.
in.
So we invested in 24 companies since our establishment. Until today, in less than 10 years, we've actually took public 5 of them in New York Stock Exchange and in NASDAQ. We sold 3 of the companies, and the rest of the portfolio is continuing to scale. Really, what we're doing is we're taking companies at about $10 million of revenues, and we see ourselves as the partners of companies scaling from 10 million to 100 million. Okay?
Wow.
And we think that this is the stage in which most value is created in
Mm-hmm.
tech startups. And this is the value that was previously created by Israeli tech companies for others. Okay? So
Right.
they were acquired relatively early, and then they grew within larger, mostly US organizations. And today we're trying to capture this value and maintain this value in Israel and create a much more solid ecosystem of large tech companies which remain Israeli.
So, last question for the audience. We're here as part of the Restart Israel program. How did the events affect you, or what is your forecast or aspirations for the future for Kumar Capital?
Sure. So, I think the Israeli tech was always considered a bit detached from Israel. Okay?
Right.
So we saw ourselves as global in our world of reference, if you want. And I think that the last year has really connected Israeli tech to Israeli civil society. Okay? And we became much more involved in actually the local civil society in Israel. And I think it was the most prominent after October 7th, in which many of the tech leaders and tech companies started working very diligently on civil support efforts in Israel, created NGOs. We created an NGO called Tech for Israel, which is extremely active since October 7th in civil support efforts, mental health efforts, and so on. And this is typical for the industry today, in which a lot of people have become very active in actually supporting the local environment.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming
Netta.
today.
Thanks.
Thank you.